Thanks for joining us on Wines du Jour. We're broadcasting tonight live from the Sonrisa Grill in Lake Las Vegas, Nevada. And thank you for listening to America's #1 syndicated radio high-definition television wine show. We're going to have a really nice time, which is a Mexican restaurant out at Lake Las Vegas. And let me tell you what, the food here is spectacular. Now, each broadcast, we remember what this program is all about, and that is wine is food. A meal is a meal, but with a glass of wine, it's a celebration. From casual gatherings to formal affairs, wine celebrates any event. So don't go anywhere. Stay and enjoy the next 60 minutes while we discover more information about taste, flavors, wine, and food. And I'm sure you know everybody enjoys a glass or two of wine, and I promise here on Wines du Jour, the information we offer will be in normal terms because we do not allow snobbery or intimidation in the room during the show. Wines du Jour Radio and Television is distributed in all 50 states, around the world via radio, CRN Digital Talk Radio Network, High Definition VAsianTV, Satellite Audio, AHA Radio, Global American Broadcast Network, and on 6 internet systems all around the globe. And it's available on podcast, free on iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Stryker Radio, and live on radio as we speak. And you're listening to Wines du Jour. I'm your host, Les Kincaid. So don't touch that radio dial or that TV remote. We'll be back with fun, information, and great taste right here on Wines du Jour at Sonrisa Grill, Lake Las Vegas. But before we go, I want to mention something that a lot of people are not aware of. Wines have been around for hundreds of years, not necessarily in America, but around the world. And we know that most wine, the credit's been given to the French for coming up with wine to start with. Now, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, all of those countries in Europe is what we now think of as the old world wines. Now, all the wines that come from America or Canada or South America, Central America, New Zealand, Australia, all of those are known as New World wines. So sometimes you'll get maybe a sommelier say, would you like your wine choices from the New World or the Old World? And you're going to look at them and say, I know what that is. Instead of, huh? So you won't be as intimidated as you might be. Now, is there a difference between Old World wines and New World wines? Obviously, the answer is yes. However, I have to tell you that in the New World, that's including California, Napa, etc., all over the Canadian area. They make some very nice wines, incidentally. You may not know about that. Or in Central America or Mexico. Baja California has over 80 wineries in that particular region. And let me tell you, some of those Mexican wines are pretty doggone tasty. But also, I want to mention that the quality of these wines over the years have really improved a major amount. And so Cabernet Sauvignon, as an example, which was originally in France, is now actually grown all around the world. Anywhere that they make wine, Cabernet is generally a varietal that they include in their vineyards. But the quality of Cabernet Sauvignon in America has really gone bonkers. We'll talk a little bit more about that. We've got to go to a break. We're having a great time already. We're tasting a little bubbly, which I'll tell you about when we come back from the break. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back coast to coast and around the world on the internet right here on Sonrisa Grill in Lake Las Vegas, Nevada, where you should be. Be back right after these messages.
Switch to DirecTV today and get a free upgrade to the all-new Genie, our most advanced HD DVR ever. Genie serves your entire home with just one receiver, allows you to record any 5 shows at once, and gives you up to 3 times more HD recording capacity than cable. Order now and lock in your savings for 2 years. Other packages start at just $29.99 a month. So get all your TV wishes granted. Switch to DirecTV and get your free upgrade to Genie today.
We're having a good time. We just got a little bit of bubbly. Now this bubbly, I know it looks red, and most champagne, as most people call it, I think it's always clear. So what the heck's the difference? Well, they use different grapes. That's what it's all about. And the grape that they use to make this is called Moscato. That's because that's what they call it in Italy, where it kind of gave originality in Italy. However, in America, there's a lot of Moscato or Muscat grapes. In fact, if you know a little bit about the San Joaquin Valley in California, that's basically the center of the state, where Fresno and Madera and Merced and Modesto is all located, Bakersfield. You'll know that they grow a lot of grapes there, and a whole lot of them are Moscato. And it is used generally because it's pretty sweet. It's generally used as a dessert wine or as an aperitif, and that's what they've done here. Our friends at Barefoot have put this together. They have used, instead of the typical what we call champagne method, or method champenois, that's the French name for the method that they make this in. Typically, we're talking about champagne now. So Muscat grapes, very good product, and bubbly is not bad at all. So we're going to have some food to go along with this Muscat. So everybody's smart enough not to drink everything in front of them right away. And what we're going to do is taste not just a little bit of food, but one of the most popular fish in America is called salmon. And so they're taking this salmon and making a little fillet of salmon and putting it on a plate for us to take 2 or 3 bites of the salmon along with this bubbly, and you're going to be pleasantly surprised how that goes well together. You know, there are people that say champagne, sparkling wine, bubbly, goes with anything. Well, I guess that could be considered true, but actually it's probably not true. All bubbly doesn't go with all food, and all champagne or sparkling wine doesn't go with all food. There are certain kinds of sparkling wine that go with certain kinds of food, and there's certain kinds of food that don't go with those types of sparkling wine. So it's not just simply if it's a champagne, it'll go with it. It's not the way you have to look at it. You need to know a little bit more about it than that, just to make sure that it tastes. And what's really good is when you pair something like this bubbly with something like a little bit of salmon. I have to tell you, the two together, you know, this is really good food. And that's what it's all about, because wine is food. And that's an absolute fact. Well, let me introduce you to the lady that owns Sonrisa Grill. That's here at Lake Las Vegas. Her name is Chanty Walsh. And thank you very much for sharing your restaurant with us and allowing us to come in and taste some of your food along with your hospitality, Chanty.
Thanks for having us.
You bet.
Thank you.
You have not just one restaurant, you have 2.
Yes.
And they're both Mexican restaurants, which means that the cuisine generally is from Mexico. Do you have a particular style of Mexican cuisine that you try to do in both restaurants, or is one different than the other?
They're both very similar. The reason why I picked Mexican cuisine is because I love the spices and all the Mexican dishes. In Asia, I'm from Cambodia, so I'm not Mexican. I enjoy the spices very much, and with Asian cuisine, there's a lot of spices in it as well. So what we did, we have our traditional plates, like the tacos and the fajitas and the burritos and enchiladas and all that, but we incorporated some of the fusion with the steamed rice and some of the Asian spices with some of our specialty dishes with prawns and with the salmon. We make some really kick-ass ribs, sorry. But you guys will get a chance to enjoy that as well this evening. Overall, it's just a variety of tastes, and we just enjoy it. So we want to share that with
There isn't anything wrong with Mexican food. We happen to love Mexican food in many ways, but what we think of, that big bell that clangs around 45 different locations in the state, is not Mexican food in reality. But if you have an opportunity to go to Mexico, and I recommend you go to Baja, California if you do, and try the food there, you'll find, first of all, the seafood is incredible, just because the ocean is, if you ever look at the map, Baja, California is on the east and the west coast. From top to bottom is ocean. So there's a lot of fish and seafood there. They raise lobster, and they raise oysters, and Kumamoto oysters are some of my favorite from Japan. And somebody was smart enough, I don't know, about 15 years ago, to take a bunch of them down into just outside of Ensenada and started raising them, and now they have Kumamoto oysters from Mexico that are just outstanding. Well, I want to talk just a moment more about this beautiful barefoot bubbly, if you will, the red Moscato. This has a very much of an orange blossom nose to it. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but if you kind of swirl it around your glass, I recommend that when you're tasting wine, you swirl it for about 10 seconds before you put your nose in there, and then take a whiff. And not only do you get the typical, you would expect raspberry for sure, but this orange blossom just kind of jumps out at you. And I think that's pretty good. And then in the taste and then the color, kind of looks like a dark cherry, cherry color for the Moscato. So I think that's good. Now, in addition to the salmon, what do you guys think? The salmon in the Moscato, huh? Pretty nice, yeah, absolutely. But if you have something like this is good for like desserts. If you have angel food cake or pound cake and fresh berries as an example, along with this, it would be great. You could use this with a lot of antipasto that I can think of that would work well. And believe it or not, there's a whole lot of pizza that would go great with this. Now, I did mention that the way they make it at Barefoot is just a little bit different than the way they make the bubbly in Champagne, France. In Champagne, France, I mentioned method champenois as a technique that's used. And the other method, and there are two in the whole world, but the other one is called the bulk process or Charmant process. And this was made in the Charmant process as opposed to the other one. But the key to having any kind of bubbly is to having it chilled very well. So if we could look at it from a thermostat point, we'd like to get it around 39, 40 degrees. Where white wine we like around 55 and red wine we like a little bit warmer at 65. So if you could do that, keep it in the refrigerator for a couple hours before you open it, it would be perfect. But please don't take any kind of sparkling wine or champagne and put it in your freezer. The worst thing you can possibly do. It's extremely dangerous. And if you've ever seen the door fly off of somebody's freezer in their refrigerator, you know exactly what I'm talking about. It's very dangerous, not worth it. Got to go to a break. We'll be back coast to coast and around the world on the internet right here at Sonrisa Grill in Lake Las Vegas. Be back right after these messages.
Switch to DirecTV today and get a free upgrade to the all-new Genie, our most advanced HD DVR ever. Genie serves your entire home with just one receiver, allows you to record any 5 shows at once, and gives you up to 3 times more HD recording capacity than cable. Order now and lock in your savings for 2 years. Other packages start at just $29.99 a month. So get all your TV wishes granted. Switch to DirecTV and get your free upgrade to Genie today.
Welcome back to Wine du Jour. We're having a good time here at this beautiful little restaurant, Sonrisa Grill. Isn't that kind of a neat name, Sonrisa? And it's located, in case you didn't know it, it's located in the Montilago Village. Now, Montilago Village is about, I'm going to say, 25 or so miles east of Las Vegas proper. This is a place that you can come as a getaway if you lived in Las Vegas. And I have to tell you, you come here 25 minutes on the freeway and come to this area. Look at the man-made lake. It's called Lake Las Vegas. There's boats out there, the food and the retail stores. There's a couple big hotels here. This is a place that you wouldn't know. You'd think you were in Phoenix or in San Diego, and it only took you 25 minutes to get here. That's a pretty good deal. And I have to tell you, there's a lot of Las Vegans that aren't familiar with this, and they should be. This is a great place to come. Okay, let's move on to wine number 2. Now, wine number 2 and wine number 3 come from the same winery, from actually Sonoma, California, more specifically Santa Rosa. If you know where Santa Rosa is, that's almost in the center of the county. And the name of the winery is Murphy Good. 2 different people are partners, Mr. Murphy and Mr. Good. Murphy Good. And Good has an E on the end of it, just so you know. But Murphy Good is one of our favorite wineries. They make a medium amount of wine. In other words, it's not an artisanal winery where they only do 1,000 cases, but they're not what you call a large winery. They make enough to make everybody happy and supply all across the United States. More specifically, I love this 2008 Zinfandel. This Zinfandel has been in oak for 13 months. Now, what does that mean? Well, oak barrels, everybody's familiar with aging wine in barrels. That's not an uncommon idea. However, here at Murphy Good, they do it a little bit uniquely. They have, there's two types of barrels that are used literally all around the world. There's French oak barrels, and then there's American oak barrels. Well, Murphy Good has taken both. They've taken, to start with, they put the Zinfandel in the French oak barrels for a given period of time, about 8 months. Then they take it out of the French oak barrel and put it into an American oak barrel. Now you think, what the heck? Oak is oak. Well, that's exactly not true. I mean, yes, it is true, but there's more to it than that. We'll put it that way. The French oak, because of the type of species and the terroir that the trees grow in France, the taste and flavor that you get out of the oak barrels is different than the taste and flavor that you get out of the oak that's grown in America. And so the American oak does different things. Just as an example, if you were to go to Australia, they use hardly any oak barrels from France. They use almost exclusively, I say almost exclusively, American oak. They like the taste and flavor that American oak gives to their wine. And so in the case of Murphy Good, they like both. They're going to take a little bit from this oak barrel and a little bit from that oak barrel. And I think that's pretty good. So 13 months in the barrel. Well, for meat, if you're going to serve Zinfandel with meat, here's some of my ideas. I think it's happiest when it's paired with a little like barbecue ribs or pork or leg of lamb or a real big hearty meal is when I think Zinfandel is called for. That would be a good choice of wine to serve with it. Now, if you're going to serve it with poultry, chicken in particular, you have to know that even though chicken is white meat and Zinfandel is red, they still can go together. Especially, I have to tell you, especially for Thanksgiving. If you like turkey and you're not sure what kind of wine to choose, and maybe you don't want white wine with your turkey, Zinfandel or Pinot Noir are both good choices to go along with turkey. Another thing I love with Zinfandel is a little bit of pizza. Pizza and Zinfandel go really well together, especially if you have meat on the pizza like sausage or pepperoni or one of those types of things. And one of my favorite cheeses to go with Zinfandel is dry jack cheese. I know, you look at me like I'm crazy. Dry jack cheese. Or aged Gouda cheese. Well, we could go on and on and on, but we have to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about wine number 3 and some good food. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after these messages. Welcome back to Wines du Jour. We're having a good time here. We're tasting this Cabernet Sauvignon. We're talking about the 2009 Murphy Good California Cabernet Sauvignon. And it retails for about $16. You would normally see cherry, plum, blackberry, blueberry, a little warm spice, and so on in Cabernet. And it's true to form here. It's all right here in this particular glass. In addition to it, there's a little bit of vanilla. And now, vanilla doesn't come from the grape. Vanilla comes from the oak barrel that it was aged in. So the oak actually permeates with the wine, and vanilla gets into the wine. It's not because it was from the grape. But in addition to that, Jeremy over here, my radio engineer, says, the last wine and this wine have tobacco. And Jeremy didn't drink wine when he first started doing this show a few years ago, and now he's getting down to where he can recognize a red wine from a white wine, if you know what I mean. But there's also another thing here that some of you may have missed, and I want you to think about it before you run out of wine, and that's a little bit of leather. But I can tell you that it has an aroma that is something that comes out of this Cabernet Sauvignon right here, which I think is good. And last but certainly not least, not to change anything to do with this mango salsa that they did with these pork baby back ribs, but this has a little bit of dark chocolate in it as well. So I think that's pretty nice. Dark chocolate and Cabernet are not uncommon, and it's certainly here in this $16 bottle of wine. Now, pork ribs, I don't know, they do a lot of barbecuing here. You know, I know it's a Mexican restaurant, but you know, Mexicans love to barbecue too. So I'm going to ask her, tell us a little bit about your ribs. These are succulent and very tasty, and this mango salsa ain't too shabby either, and both of them go very well with the Cabernet.
Okay, we slow cooked our ribs for about 4 hours at about 225 degrees.
Atta girl, you're perfect.
And then we infuse a little bit of the Asian spice, which is the sriracha, and a little bit of the the sweet and sour sauce to go with it, and then we topped it with mango.
Wow.
So, as you can tell, I don't know if you guys enjoying it, but it's amazing to me.
It's really very,
Every
very
time
good.
I eat it.
Very good. I was going to ask you now, if we come into the restaurant, can we order these?
You can order those as a half or a full rack.
Wow, a rack or even half a rack, if that depends on what you want to do.
That's right.
And what about those kebabs? Is that available?
Oh,
or?
the kebab was something new that we created for this event tonight, but we're going to feature that for Father's Day.
Oh, great. That's a good idea.
Yeah, the ribeyes, you know, we all know that it's always an amazing meat. So we thought we marinated overnight, and so hopefully everyone will enjoy it.
Very good. Well, I think strong cheeses, we're talking about a little bit earlier with cheese. Strong cheeses go very well with Cabernet Sauvignon. You're going to find some really of the healthier type of pastas. I mean, healthy, like big, bold, flavored type pasta. Is good. Not an angel hair with a little bit of extra virgin olive oil and garlic. That's not going to hold up. The Cabernet will just eat it up alive, if you know what I mean. So that's pretty good. In case you didn't know it, Cabernet Sauvignon is basically what we would refer to affectionately as a Bordeaux wine, okay, or grape, if that's a better word for you. So, boy, I'll tell you, time just flies by here. I don't know why or how, but we've had a great time here this evening, and I want you to know that I want to thank you for listening to Wines du Jour, America's #1 wine syndicated radio and television show. And we're here at this very same time every week. And if you've enjoyed tonight's program, tell everybody to know. Want to know more about my favorite subjects? Log on to my website, leskincade.com, or Facebook, or Twitter. I want to thank Chanthi Walsh for allowing us to come into her Sonrisa Grill. We had a great time, good food, wonderful location. There's nothing wrong with it all. My broadcast engineer, Jeremy Knight, Carl Magno, VAsianTV in high definition for making television in Las Vegas on cable, Cox Cable, and for DirecTV and all over Asia happen. Thank you very much, sir. And thanks for listening to Wines du Jour. From the left coast, from the east coast, and from all around the internet, I'm Les Kincaid. Good night, everybody.